Hi, I'm Riley, and I wanted to share a few highlights from the New Orleans trip. I have a lot of favorite things from the trip, but I'm just going to share a few. Some of my favorite moments were singing and dancing during the mass gatherings, walking the streets of New Orleans, the interactive learning day where we were able to do many different activities, including a self-reflection area, which was my personal favorite, and of course, trying the food. While walking the streets of New Orleans, we saw a couple different street bands, interesting buildings and shops, and also many people selling art. I enjoyed seeing the city, the culture, and different aspects of the city. While enjoying the city, I recognized God in a few ways. One way where I recognize God is in the many homeless people that we saw. I recognize God in the homeless people because it opened my eyes to how grateful I am that God gave me good health and a loving family who can provide a roof over my head and everything I need. God also provided me and everyone else strength to get through every hot and humid day we were there. Every night we were able to go to a mass gathering, which was also a great experience. We had different topics and speakers each night, and every speaker spoke with confidence and had a great effect on the crowd. I also thought it was pretty cool to see how many people from around the country came together and were always super friendly when we passed them on the street or saw them doing activities. I will never forget this trip, and I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to participate. Thank you to the church for supporting the youth and everyone who made this trip possible. I will always encourage others to participate because overall it was a great experience.
Hi, I'm Bryce. This is my story about New Orleans. So I had a lot of fun on this trip. A few things that were my scavenger hunt, the French Quarter, and during the mass gathering when we were dancing at all the songs. My favorite moment in the whole week is when a homeless man told Jim Hubka a joke. He asked, "Where are your shoes at?" And then he replied with, "On your feet." The homeless man was pretty cool and made us laugh. During the trip, I shared a room with my brother, Jonas, and Landon. I was taking a nap one afternoon when my brother yelled my name to go, and I fell off my bed and hit the wall. It was pretty funny. I felt God's presence while we were dancing at the mass gathering, and especially when we got to dance on the floor in front of the house band. There were a lot of neat things in New Orleans: the shops, the restaurants, the people, and the sights to see. I really liked the French Quarters and seeing the riverboats. We went to Cafe du Monde and had beignets for breakfast. We also went to the Cornet for dinner, and there I ate a shrimp po' boy sandwich, and I got to try alligator and jambalaya. I didn't really like the jambalaya as much as my mom makes it at home. We met people during the gathering all over the country. I met people from North Dakota, Oklahoma, Minnesota, and Maine. It was pretty fun to see all the shirts that people were from different states on them. My favorite speaker was Michael Chan because he came out and said, "Hello," and then the whole crowd cheered. He spoke with so much energy and it kept me interested. My favorite song was the Christian remix of the new Tipsy country song. I would encourage other people to go to the gathering. It was a great experience. You meet lots of new people, go to new places, and see many things we don't see here in Minnesota. We don't live in a large city. It was pretty fun to experience what it was like in a large city.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. Going to New Orleans was an amazing experience that I would recommend to any kid with the opportunity to go. It was amazing to see the community there, and it was great to be gathered in the stadium with so many other people who are there to worship God. I enjoyed dancing to the music with my friends and trying to get them to put us on the big screen, which they put some of us on the big screen, but never Gretchen. Especially when we got up close to the stage was super fun. It was also very interesting to learn about how music is such a big part of the community there. The one speaker that stood out to me was a lady named Jacqueline Bussey. She talked about how no matter what you're going through, Keep going anyways and trust God's plan, because you can find hope in the most hopeless seeming places, like how she found a message that helped her find hope on a dumpster. One time in particular that I saw God was when Emma and Riley decided that instead of getting rid of their leftovers, they gave them to a homeless person. And I thought that was very generous of them, and it made me think about how generous our God is. The trip helped me learn how to see God everywhere, not just at church. I loved trying new foods and learning a tiny bit of sign language, and I would go again if I had the chance.
Thank you. Did great. Well, I'll speak for myself and Ann and Jim. We love spending the week with our fantastic youth from our Saviors. Our youth are so respectful and such good listeners and fun-loving. We had a lot of fun. This was my first gathering, as I think you know, and I completely understand the hype now. It was very well organized, that with the goal of connecting people with one another and God. The mass gatherings were definitely a highlight for me. My favorite speaker was the Reverend Sally Azar, the first Arab Christian woman to be ordained, and she serves at the Lutheran Church in Palestine. She spoke about trusting God's call and having the support of others to believe in God's call in your life, and our church's nonviolent efforts to disrupt occupation and seek justice for the Palestinian people. All of the speakers talked about a struggle that they have had in their life, and then how God helped them accept who they are created to be, and how in their authentic self they can shine God's light. So I think that was a great message for all ages to hear, but especially for our teenagers. Being with 16,000 other Lutherans was simply amazing, and the youth handled themselves so well with all the walking and the heat. The native New Orleans people said that was a lot higher humidity than normal for them. We had a couple days that it was 107 with the heat index, and our kids never complained. And it seemed like all the best kids in the whole country were gathered in New Orleans, actually. And 2 different hotel staff told me they love when the Lutherans come because we're so polite and we clean up after ourselves. There were a lot of Minnesotans there, which was fun. And like Bryce said, it was fun to see where different people were from, like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and meet different people. We learned about poverty, as each of the kids referenced, and the resilience that marks many of the communities, especially neighborhoods of color. We got to hear a marching band of youth, and be part of that. That was pretty cool. I want to convey my thanks to the congregation for supporting this trip, and for everyone who helped with the fundraising, for Ann's hard work leading and planning the trip. It's a lot of details to get organized. And the Hubka family isn't here today, but Jim was awesome, and Gretchen and Gavin were wonderful to have on the trip. And I want to thank our young people for sharing an entire week of their summer with me and 16,000 new friends, for reminding me that the future of the church is strong. And when you see these youth out and about after worship or anytime, in the next month or 2, ask them about where they saw God at work and what God is up to in their lives today. I think they're much more able to articulate that now than before the trip. God is bringing new life out of dark places. We belong together. Joy is found in our relationships with each other and with God. We need experiences like this. I think was a good reminder for me of why we invest so much time and money to make such a trip like that possible. We heard what the power of God does in individual lives, in the life of New Orleans, and against all the loud voices in our lives that can cause us to be afraid or be anxious. God's people hear one voice, the voice that provides calm in the storm, the voice that shines light in the darkness, and that voice is the Spirit of God, and God is alive. And that Spirit moves, God's people moves the church forward, allowing us to keep moving anyways. And we move forward to what will sustain life, what will bring hope and healing and growth. And we were reminded to be brave, to believe in that voice, the voice of the living God. We all live pretty noisy lives, I think, and to be able to hear God's voice amidst the lies and the clamor of the world tells us that together, as God's people, we can make a difference, that we are free to be disruptive, to disrupt patterns of injustice or bullying or fear, fearing the stranger, and to be able to accept ourselves and then accept others for who God has made us to be. And I'm so proud of our youth and thank our congregation for this wonderful opportunity.